Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends, I think we can start the session. Early morning here in Kaunas, and I think very early morning around the globe. My special regards to the colleagues from the United States and for Asia as well. Welcome. Yesterday we spent the time of the conference at the keynote sessions and the discussion on the leadership in higher education. Today, we will spend more time on the publishing. Yes, we are beginning from the workshop on how to write a paper and how to probably publish the paper. And during the next sessions, we will talk about the some tips from editors of the journals and other things, very interesting things. So my name is Zbigniew Pastuszak. We were prepared the session with Professor Valerie Dermol. Additionally, few colleagues from the globe helped us to share our experiences because, as usually, every one of us, we have different kind of experiences. Very good experiences regarding to the successful publishing and plenty of bad experiences. I mean, bad when we're thinking about the effect, but very good thinking about the quality of the papers that we can prepare. Because me personally, and I'm sure that all of us, we had some rejected papers, and this is very good lessons for us for the future, right? So let me start the presentation regarding to the workshop topic. It is very long presentation, but I will try to summarize some tips and to leave some minutes to talk maybe for the questions from the audience. So I divide this presentation for two parts. The first part is the part regarding to the research methodology, but not exactly statistics or questionnaire preparation, etc. But regarding to the ideas, to the work organization, to the process of searching the right journals to the right topics, as well as the paper structures. And the second part of the presentation will concern the presentations published or papers, working papers published in the conferences, and we will spend some minutes on the presentation on the publication procedure, how to fulfill all the steps, and for example, during the update of the paper procedure of the revising to fulfill all the steps that this is the expectation of the editor-in-chief or the reviewer. So talking on the research methodology, we have to firstly focus on the problem from where to get the idea. I will talk a bit about this element of the procedure of publications. Now, how to organize our work, and how to publish, and where to publish, and how to prepare to be to publication to be published, as well as the paper structure and some tips what is important during this procedure. So, talking about the ideas. So, I think I'm sure we are different, so we have different ideas, and this is the reason that the science is developing and the research are developing, and plenty of papers every year could be published, and plenty of new younger generation people starts their academic career. So I think we have firstly to focus on the main area of our interest. Maybe it is important what we are looking for, or what we do want to read, or what kind of research is doing by our supervisor, maybe what is the position of ourselves in the structure of the academy, because looking for the idea is, I think, the most important step during the publication process. Why? Because if we have good idea, we have new impressions, we have new ideas to present to the audience, this kind of paper could be published. The other way, I'm co-working as editor-in-chief in a few journals from the Scopus list, as well as supporting the one journal from the JCR list. So what is my experience from the editor point of view? Many times we are receiving very good papers, very good methodology papers with a nice kind of research, but this research was very new some 20 years ago. And we have to deny or reject the paper because of the lack of novelty, because of the lack of added value of the paper. So the most important thing when we start to publish, or we start to think about the publishing, is to think about what is new in comparison to the other colleagues' activity, to the other colleagues' publications. What is new in our research, our work, or what kind of call for papers we can get from the internet, from the journals, websites. This is a signal for us what can be interested for the audience and what can be a good idea for our paper. For sure, yesterday we talked about the project, international project, especially European Union project. So we are in the European Union as European universities, but in all the regions of the globe, we can find different sources of money for research projects. So maybe we can get the idea how to publish or what to publish from the topics of the project that can be started or that are introduced, started up in our universities. How to organize the work? This is very, I think, very hard to say, because every one of us, we have completely different way of working. Me personally, I can listen to the very tough, hard metal music, because this is very good for me to focus on the topic. Rammstein is very well to write the papers on IT, for example, or logistics, reverse logistics, etc. But maybe you can listen the polite music or the techno. It's up to you, right? What is the element of our work, our life, that can focus us on the work? The very important thing is on the very last line on the screen. Don't give up. Why don't give up? Because plenty of time when we, especially when we start our career, we can get the rejection. The journals, they can deny our work, and we can be frustrated, very frustrated, because of 100 hours that we spent on the work, on papers, and in the effect, we can get from the reviewer number 2 the rejection. Reviewer number 1 is okay, very nice, very good job, but reviewer number 2 reject. So if we don't have 2 positive reviews, it is impossible to publish. Sometimes it depends on the editor-in-chief, because he or she can assign to the paper additional reviewer. But if we are sending, thinking about publishing in the very good journals, especially with the high impact factor, it is impossible. Usually, me personally too, we can get the rejection on the very early stage of the review procedure. I'm thinking about the desk rejection. So I'm just sending through the online system, sending my paper, and within 1 hour I get, I'm sorry, we have much better papers, 100, 700 papers per week. So your paper is very nice, very good, but not to this journal. Please look for the other journal. So don't give up. Everything you can see at this screen. These points are important, but the most important thing is to focus on the effect, final effect, and the good effect. When you have the idea, we have to compare our idea with the other works, other authors' works. So this is very important, how to prepare the literature review, how to place our research in the very wide space of different kind of research, different kind of analysis, etc. I think when we are very young, are thinking about the level of academic, when we start our career, when we are PhD students, usually during the PhD study, we can get a very good methodology support from our older colleagues. And this is usually enough, but the most important is experience, our own experience, and we can get the experience doing the research, literature review, literature research, during the conversations, during presentation of our papers, during the conferences, etc. Right? So the idea is very important. The place of our research in the space of the research of other colleagues from the academy is very important. And I think sometimes very important is to get the contact with the people from the right journal, which we are interested in. The people working for the journals, they are usually working for free. So every one of us doing some editor's work or review for 1, 2, 3, 10 journals, we are doing this for free. So we are very happy that we can get the questions from the colleagues, from the authors from the globe. But usually, especially in the case of high quality journals, this is plenty of correspondence, plenty of mails, and it is impossible to answer the mails because you can get mail by mail. If you open the chat, you can just spend all the day chatting with the authors, plenty of questions. So my proposition is to attend the conferences and to attend personally conferences, especially the parts regarding to the publishing, because it is very good time to spend more time asking the questions or spend some coffee time or lunch time with some editors to talk about the exact idea of ourselves or our colleagues. It is very, very high added value of such events. Don't give up. Never give up. If you don't publish, you can have very good quality paper. You can be the best around the globe. But if you don't publish this kind of research, this kind of idea, nobody knows that you are the best, right? So don't give up. Try. From my experience, we just prepared a few years ago a paper with a colleague from our group from this conference. It was the paper sent to the Industrial Management and Data Systems Journal. This is ML2022 Publishing, good quality, Web of Science listed, scope was listed, and with some kind of impact factor, not very high like in medical sciences, but for business sciences, quite good. And we did the review, update, revise, review, update, revise procedure cycles for 5 times. My co-author, after the second time, said me, give up. I give up. If you are interested, you can do it, but I will not spend any minutes on this paper because we are doing something wrong. This is second review, and reviewers asking us, revise, correct this, correct that, correct this, correct that, right? One reviewer is asking for this, and another is asking to change this first reviewer expression, etc., etc. Yes, it's typical. It's typical, right? Because the reviewers, they don't know each other. Who is the reviewer, the second reviewer or third reviewer? So this is the role of the editor-in-chief, how to manage ideas of the reviewers. If the editor-in-chief, he or she, is very busy person and have no time to link the reviews effects or conclusions, we as authors, we have a problem because we have to be very carefully prepared to step-by-step answers to wealth reviewers. And this is very tough work. If I remember well, our answers to the reviewer questions regarding to this finally published paper was I think the number of pages was comparable to the number of pages of the paper. So some 25 papers, 25 pages of the answers. So please be prepared and be patient, not give up. How to publish and how to prepare to publication to the e-submission process. So I chose two publishing houses in the Science and Emerald, basing on my personal expressions, but every one of us we can focus on different publishing houses, different kind of journals. So the most important thing when we are looking for a right journal to publish our research, our paper, we can find on all kinds of the publishing houses the list of journals, so-called master list of journals that this exact publishing house is publishing. Sometimes we have to additionally pay attention to a special kind of list or indexed journals that are accepted by, for example, local Ministry of Higher Education. In every country, we have different kinds of regulations. For example, when we talk with colleagues from Finland, they have different regulations. From Poland, in Poland, we have, as I mentioned yesterday, very specific kind of regulations, master list of some 5,000 journals divided for disciplines and divided for different kind of points. So every researcher looking for the place to publish the research, firstly check the local list, local minister or local university list. Is this exact journal from the list, for example, from the Emerald, on the list of my university? If yes, good. If not, I have to look for the another, right? Or sometimes the university authorities or the government authorities focus just only the list of Scopus or just only the list of EBSCO or Web of Science or something else. Or, for example, impact factor is important. If the journal, the publication in such a journal can give us the impact factor, it's okay. We can publish. There is no problem for the university or the government. So we can check the list. We can, for example, check exactly the topic of the journal that we choose, because sometimes the name of the journal is completely different than the topic covered by this journal. Or we can do some kind of mistake. So important thing is to read the description. Sometimes I'm receiving some emails. I don't know why, but usually from guys from India. Maybe they have no time. They have no, I don't know what, but they plenty of time. They asked me, could you tell me, is your journal covering this kind of topic? And I have some automatic answer in my email box. So I'm sending, please check the website, and this is the website. So after that, usually I'm not receiving any additional questions from these guys, but check the website, check the description. It's help, right? It's help. Sometimes we can not sometimes, usually, it is not allowed to skip the so-called author guidelines. Author guidelines is a list of steps that every author have to do. Firstly, read the topic of the journal. Next, to do this and that and that and that. If we read carefully author guidelines, we can prepare our paper exactly following the rules from this journal. Looking at the expectations of different journals and comparing these expectations to the, for example, 20 years ago, the expectations are much, much, much higher. It is not enough to present, for example, conceptual model of something. You have to describe the model. You have to show all kinds of elements of the model. You have to give the proof that elements of the model are exactly needed in this model. You have to prove it following the quantity and statistical research, etc., etc. So the expectations now are very, very higher and higher year by year. I see this. So we have to have a very good, very strong methodology workshop, our personal skills to especially if you are looking for the journals from the higher level, higher quality list. The coverage, I said it. The very important thing, or the very helpful thing, is kind of simple articles, simple papers. Examples. You can download full version of the paper. You can read the title, the abstract, the descriptions. You can have a look at the structure of the paper, literature review, references, some kind of acknowledgements, etc. This is very good example for us how to prepare a good paper. Few weeks ago, we were with my other colleagues, we were very surprised looking at the list of interesting for us journals from the science list, very, very good quality for around the globe. We know the science, we know nature, so good luck to publish over there. So we are looking for the very high impact journal, and we were surprised that they are interested just in the conceptual papers, not longer than 3 pages. How to write 3 pages conceptual paper? This is very easy. Everyone can think, oh, I sit, I drink the coffee, and I will finish within 1 hour, 3 pages. This is not a problem. But looking deeply in the author guidelines, looking deeply in the descriptions, what we have to include in these 3 pages, the smile from our faces is going down, line by line. If you read, okay, to the introduction session, please prepare the discussion regarding to the newest publications from the globe regarding to the topic. If you do the conclusion, you can spend some one chapter, small chapter, 3-4 lines to summarize this and to place your idea in this analysis. If you talk about some numbers, please, in addition to this paper, include all the data you collected during the research. Please add as an appendix the research questionnaire, dissemination, the proof that your research were done correctly following the statistical rules, etc. So 3 pages, and additionally some 100 pages of different kinds of appendixes, for sure, in electronic version. And if you get this, if you prepare this, you can be published for sure after the reviews, and after the reviews done by the people with the H indexes higher than 160. You know, here's index, right? 160. It is, yes, it's happened. Yes, it's happened. Such a strong reviewers. We can be in their hands. Our paper can be in their hands. So this is not easy way, right? So simple articles, you can have a look at this kind of article. So I will show you. This is the text I mentioned about. After 5 steps of the review, the process was very long, but the number of quotations of this paper is very high, and the experience from this article is like that. If you use very developed, very high-level expert methodology with very high level of the quality of the statistical research, etc., in my opinion, it is not easy way to get more quotations, more citations. Why? I don't know why, but if you put just percentages, just the descriptive statistics, it is easier way to be quoted by the other. I don't know why. Maybe you can answer to this question, but this is my observation following this this paper. So, structure of the paper, important thing. Usually, if we are preparing the paper, you have to focus on elements listed on the screen. For sure, title. Sometimes the different journals, they are limited the number of words included to the title. Authors. Sometimes there is a limit of number of authors, no more than 4. And plenty of colleagues are doing like that. The author number 1, 10 names. The author number 2, 5 names. The author number 4, 16 names, right? Big team doing the big research. Everyone add some small piece to the paper, and they are looking for the place as a co-author to be listed on the list of the co-authors. Some of journals can accept this, but usually you have additionally you have the limit of the characters. So sorry, if you plan to do the research, please do it in the teams no more than 4 or 5 people, because sometimes it is impossible to be published as a co-author. Purpose, for sure. Design methodology, it's clear for us, I think. Findings, sure. Value, added value of the how original is our research. This is an important thing, because usually the good quality journals, they asked us to do 4 or 5 so-called highlights. If you highlight what is important, what is new, what is added value in your research, in your paper, sometimes on this 4 or 5 short descriptions, no longer than 200 characters, you can get good effect or the bad effect. This because it can decide that he or she, I'm talking about the editor-in-chief, will decide to send the paper to the review procedure or to skip it, right? As well, keywords and what is the type of the paper, research, conceptual, methodology, etc., right? And this is the example of short description from the Emerald list. So we step to the second part of this presentation. I will give some minutes to Valerie to share his points and tips regarding to his experience. Why it is important to present the papers, the research during the conferences? We know, because we meet each other for 20, 25, 30 years, that we can publish such working papers in different kinds of journals or academia journals. But if you spend some time during the conferences, you can get the possibility to talk to the people exactly from your discipline or exactly from your area of interest, having other experiences from the other parts of the world. This is very important added value, because discussion is the most important part element of the research procedure of the doing research of the academic life. So my proposition is to attend the conferences, especially personally. We are after COVID era, I hope so. So please travel, please focus on different places around the globe, and focus on talking not exactly about papers, but sometimes about papers, about ideas, right? Let me summarize this with this slide. If we have the idea, if we choose the journal and we fulfill the journal requirements, we can remember that this is a very important thing, especially for the PhD students. Because PhD students' life is very hard life. We have time from this date to this date. We have to fulfill all the stuff, all the procedure of our academic development at this stage, and to get the PhD and fulfill the exams, etc., and to get the PhD defense on the ending of this procedure, including this element of paper publishing. And sometimes I'm receiving the emails, oh, dear editor, please hurry up, because there is some 2 weeks left to my defense, and I have to publish just only one paper in your journal. So hurry up, please push your reviewers to do faster the reviews, because I'm interested in. Sorry, what can I do as an editor-in-chief in the journal regarding to the reviewers' work? What can I do? I can send the paper to the reviewers and ask, could you prepare within 2 or 3 weeks your review? Usually I'm not getting any answer. So this is the answer for me. After a few days, I can choose another reviewer. He or she can agree. So good. We are on the good way to finish on time the procedure. After 2 or 3 weeks, no answer. So I can send the reminders using the system, or the system can sending the automatic reminders. I have few reviewers that after 15 reminders every 2 weeks, the reminder, they're skipped. Or one lady sent me the email, and inside the email, okay, read. Dear editor, I am not from this area. What do you want from me? I am from the other idea, right? But inside the system, when I was looking for the viewer, her area of interest were exactly connected to the keywords of the paper I sent to her, to the review, right? Reviewers, please do remember, reviewers are working for free. Editors can just ask the reviewers, please do it. And reviewers can do or not. No any way to push them, excluding the so-called predatory publishing. They pay, they expect the review, for example, after 1 or 2 days. The quality of reviews, as you can imagine, are very high. And the procedure of the publishing is very, very fast. You can be published after 2 or 3 days. But there is one but. Well, maybe we will have some time to talk about this but during the editor's panel. So please do remember, it is publishing, it is very time-consuming procedure. Days, weeks, months. Finally, from start point, when you have the idea, when you start writing, to the publishing point, when you get the hard copy or the email with the link to your paper, sometimes you can spend 2 years talking about, for example, high quality journals. Please be patient. Please be focused on this. And finishing a bit my speech, important thing during the publication process is the review process. We as authors, when we are PhD, when we are doctors, sometimes we can receive the request to prepare the research to the other person from the academia, so we can have a look at the journal requirements regarding to the elements that are very important from the editor point of view, publishing house point of view, and that's are consisting of that the reviewer form is consisting of. So here you have some example what is important from the reviewer point of view for the journal. If you have a look, what is the originality of the paper? What about this scholarly relevance of the paper, industrial, society? Is the references, quotations, are the references and quotations were done very well by the author? Is the literature review and conclusions were prepared okay? What about the quotations to the newest papers? If you, for example, are writing in your paper that this is very new idea, nobody was focused on this idea, and the references dates from 80s, last century, or the beginning of 2000 years, this is not very added value of the paper and the newest paper thing. This is nothing new. If you quote the papers from the last year or this year, he or she as an editor working and looking at, or reviewers looking at your paper can assume that yes, probably your idea is placed in the right new space of ideas of the other authors. Please be prepared to thinking about these elements, what is important for the reviewers. Sometimes, what kind of the review we can get from the reviewers? For example, the best is accept, but sometimes, usually it is deny or reject. In the middle, we have accept with the minor revisions, very soft work, or maybe soft, maybe hard. It is not clear at the beginning. We can be sure after the review for sure. Sometimes we can get the conclusion from the reviewers that we have to introduce some major revision, or sometimes we can get the answer that the reviewers and the editor-in-chief propose to transfer your research paper or your paper from this journal to the other journals. And we start the beginning from the beginning again the procedure. Check the list, check the university and public list. Is this proposed journal on the lists? If yes, okay, we can be happy and start the online submission again. If not, we can answer to the editor-in-chief. Thank you, editor, but I am not interested. Well, I will be looking for the other possibilities. So finally, this is the very last slide. No, the last before last one. Starting from the idea, left top side of this screen, our own or based on the literature, research, etc. We have to do the discussions, local, international, very expected. During these discussions and based on the discussion, we can prepare the paper. We can include the international literature reviews and discussion of the literature conclusions. Basing on these elements, we can send the paper to the journal. We can get the reviewers' answers, and finally, we can start thinking about new paper when this paper, which we are interested in, will be published. So, summarizing, the procedure is very long. We have to be prepared to the hard work. We have to focus on work and focus on thinking that we we don't give up because of some not expected expectations from the reviewers. So if we look at the other colleagues from the academia, we can be sure that every one of us, we have good experiences, bad experiences, but we can observe our own development. Year by year, we have more and more published papers. So this is the, I think, this is the normal, traditional way of the development of the academy. We have to be experienced people to get new experienced ideas for the new publications, new research, etc. If we are doing research, it is quite easier to publish. If we are not doing research, it is very hard to sitting at the desk and eating the pen to write a good paper. So summarizing, please do the research in the international teams, and focus on the experiences of our international colleagues, especially during the conferences discussions. So if any questions, if any of you will be interested to contact me, you have my email over there. So please write. Not many of time, plenty of time, but sometimes some email to me, or we can chat, or we can meet on Zoom or Teams and talk about your ideas. So welcome. And let me share the microphone and the stage with Professor Valerie de Mol from Slovenia. Valerie, floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Zbigniew, thank you. Thank you very much. You explained everything, so you did not left much to say. Okay, but still, I prepared a short presentation. I will just give a few hints, a few maybe additional ideas. Some kind of I will complement your presentation, which was really impressive. So from starting point till very end, it was very nicely explained. So my idea is just to emphasize a few things related to the structure of academic articles. Also maybe emphasizing the meaning of visibility of papers on internet, and so being cited, quoted, and so on. This is very important, I think. And then I will give some suggestions related to more or less style of writing, and maybe about you started to talk about predatory journals. Maybe a few words about the journals in which we can publish. So these are my points. But after that, I will give word also to Alen Ježovnik. So he's the head of a publishing house at University of Primorska in Slovenia, and he will be also able to give some very practical suggestions or hints or whatever. So about the structure. So here you see a typical structure of a scientific article, or let's say academic article. So there is a title, there is an abstract, there are keywords. Usually there is an introduction into the paper, and then followed by literature review and description of used methodology. And then you have a chapter on results and discussion, and conclusion as the last part of the paper. So about the title, I'm also editor of some journals. I also published quite some books as the author and also as the editor. And I believe that the title is very important, because the title appears everywhere. So on the internet, wherever, and people when they are searching for some ideas for their papers, or trying to get some useful literature, they usually also pick the papers, they pick the monographs and other stuff on internet by title. So I think the title is very important. It should not be very long, because if it's very long, then it's hardly to be understand. It's better to be a bit short, but still it should somehow reflect the contents of the paper. So it should be somehow logically linked with the content of the paper. This is very important. I put below, there is in red one sentence. So I think it is very important to establish some kind of a logical consistency, connectivity among title, abstract, keywords, introduction, results, discussion, methodology, and of course, conclusions. So everything should be very, very transparent, very, very clearly connected. And regarding the abstract is also very important, because I think that we usually, when we search for something, for literature, we usually first read the abstract. And if abstract is attractive enough, if it motivates us, then we download the paper, read the paper, and usually we also use this paper as our literature review beside this paper and so on. And this is, I think it's very good. And here are some ideas what in the abstract should be included. So the good abstract should outline the scope of the study. It should summarize key research methods. It should report findings and also highlight the major contributions. But let's say lately, more or less, all journals somehow demand structured abstracts. So by default, you are somehow forced to include these items into the abstract. Of course, keywords are also important, and as I said, they should somehow reflect the content of the whole article. Maybe just so I think that the other parts are not so. You can read all the information from the slide. Maybe just about the conclusion. So conclusion should not present anything new. Sometimes I read the paper as the editor, and there is a literature review, of course, that's methodology. And then when I start to read conclusions, I again see a lot of other literature references and quotations and other stuff, and I'm completely confused. So what is this paper about? What is the focus of this paper? What are the conclusions of this paper? So the conclusions should be somehow related only to our research, our own research, conclusions from the research and discussion, of course. So this is about a few, let's say, ideas about a good structure of an academic article. About the suggestions. So I think that I'm also mentor, so I'm also mentoring. I think that until now I was a mentor of about 50 master students, so master thesis, and also 3 doctoral dissertations. And sometimes I somehow experience students that, so their style of writing is terrible. So they explain things very, so very long sentences, very long paragraphs, not clearly defined. I'm completely confused when I'm reading their thesis or papers or whatever. But I think that we should very clearly list and explain the ideas, the concepts, the relationships, the theories. So not in too many words. So it should be clear, it should be concise, and it should be short. Maybe short is not the right adjective. I think, yes, specific. I think that terse, I'm not familiar with this word, but this is the adjective that it's somehow compressed maybe, or something like this. So this is the first emphasis I would like to give you in my presentation. So the second one, it's good to use established terms. So without metaphors, without rhymes, saying. So the language should be very exact, should be very precise. We should use very accurate words. So, and if we name one concept, we should name this concept the same way through the whole paper. So this is my idea. And then another thing, we should avoid non-evidence-based assertions. So everything we somehow claim in our paper should be evidence-based. So this is also so drawing conclusions from claims that cannot be explicitly supported by the results of our research or research others is prohibited. And this is also, I like this idea, avoid direct quotations. So a direct quotation could tell your reader that you didn't understand what the scholar was saying well enough when synthesized the material. So sometimes you read, I don't know, a paper or whatever with a lot of direct quotations. And I think we really get a feeling that he doesn't know what to say. He doesn't maybe understand the author, the whole idea. So maybe it's better to avoid too many direct quotations in our papers. And then I have another group of suggestions. So avoid long sentences. Paragraphs are also important. One paragraph should be only about one topic. So I don't know whether you heard about message-driven or message-based style of writing. So this, let's say, this concept or this theory, whatever it is, somehow explains this, let's say, rules. So one topic, one paragraph. And in the first sentence of the paragraph, we could give some kind of a summary of the whole paragraph, because we read papers, so we read beginning of a paragraph and then go very briefly, very quickly through the rest of the paragraph. And then we put our eyes on the second paragraph, first sentence. And so it's very important that the first paragraph somehow comprises all the ideas of the paragraph. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't.
So I wanted to say that, yes. Okay, I wanted to say that each paragraph should have, in this case, the topic sentences with the supporting ones.
Yes.
Yes, and
yes.
it will be logically connected with each other. Yes.
Yeah. So overall, one topic, and then you have the main idea expressed in the first sentence, and then you have supporting messages in the following sentences. Yeah. This is the idea. And paragraph should not be too long. So not
to avoid run-on sentences.
Yeah. Okay, using of the tenses is also very important. So past tense, future tense. So this is something which is logical, but sometimes we confuse the tenses, and it can be some kind of a confusion in a paper. And also the English language is very, very important. So I usually use for my purpose Grammarly. I don't know whether you know this application. It is very good, and because I'm not native English speaker, my writing is better than speaking, but still I do a lot of mistakes, and Grammarly more or less corrects them. And yeah, it's really good. It's really good. Okay, so about the journals, I will be very, very brief because we have another presentation. But Zbigniew already explained this. So the journal we select should be a good fit for the research, methodology, contents. So all these aspects should be considered. Too high journal ranking might be the problem. So you have somehow match the quality of your paper with journal ranking. So impact factor index, so Web of Science or whatever index. So this is also very important. Open access journals are usually a good options for publishing. I'm speaking about my journal, which is also open access journal. It's for free. Not all of the journals are for free. And this is what I want to emphasize: predatory open access journals. So after the conferences, when the conference proceedings is published, we usually get a lot of invitations from several journals with very nice titles and so on. But usually they are predatory. So as Bigno explained, so they charge some kind of fee, yes, and then they publish your paper very quickly, but it's very suspicious journal. So there are no citation and so on. So please avoid. Sometimes people ask me, because I'm editor of the proceedings, they ask me, "Oh, I got a lot of invitations. Which should I choose?" So avoid all predatory open journals. Okay, so this is from my side. And now we have another guest with us. He's on Zoom. Alan.
Okay, good morning. It's difficult to speak after Zbigniew and Valery because they said so many things. I will try to present the publishing from the publisher's point of view, because I'm not a professor, I'm not an editor, I'm a publisher, and I will speak more from that point of view. When you want to publish a paper, the first thing is to choose the right journal. And the preliminary question is how to distinguish between a reputable publisher and a predatory publisher. Reputable publishers are usually big publishing houses like Wiley, InterScience, and so on, or they are established academic institutions, universities. Predatory publishers are often some strange companies which have no clear affiliations, and they often use similar names to reputable publishers. For example, Cambridge University Press, it's a very prestigious publisher, while the Cambridge Scholars Press, it's a predatory publisher, but they have very similar names. So you have to be quite careful about that. One clear sign that something is very wrong with the chosen publisher is if they offer very short publications times. If they offer you to publish the paper in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something like that, that's a clear signal that this is a predatory publisher, because it is impossible to publish a paper in 2 weeks or within a month, because the publication process takes time. It takes several months. It can take even more than 1 year, because the editors and the reviewers, they work for free. Publishers often rely on unpaid work. And so the editor, he must ask the reviewers, could you please read these papers and send me your comments in 2 weeks? And he cannot oblige the reviewer to do that. And if there is no answer, he has to find another reviewer, and so on. And when the reviewers do their work, they will send you the comments, and then you have to prepare another version of your paper, to correct your paper, send it again to the publisher, and so on. So this process takes time. It cannot be done in few weeks. When you select a good publisher, then you have to identify the right journal, because many publishers, they publish dozens or even hundreds of different journals. And you have to identify the right journal for your paper. You have to look at the journal's website and check aims and scope of the journal, the research field of the journal. Because sometimes journals publish papers from a broad field, for example, economics, everything economics, or they are much more specific to a very narrow research field. And you should check this. You should avoid sending the paper to a wrong journal, because this is the main reason for rejection of papers. Mainly papers are rejected because they were sent to a wrong journal, not because the papers were not good. They will be rejected before peer review because they simply do not fit into the journal selected. You should also be careful about the ranking of a journal. You should not send your paper to a very, very high ranking journal because if your paper is not very, very good. Because high ranking journals, those which are indexed in Scopus or Web of Science, they receive hundreds, thousands of papers. And they can publish only the very best papers. They will reject many, many very good papers still, but they can publish just a few of them. So it's a good idea to send your papers also to some, let's say, mid-class journals, which are included in some secondary databases, like, for example, EconLit or Directory of Open Access Journals or similar. But you should also be careful about databases, because fake predatory journals, they are also indexed, but they are indexed in fake databases. They invent the database. And you should find some appropriate level of a journal to your paper. If you write your first paper, you should not send it to a very high ranking journal, but you should at any cost avoid predatory journals, because that's not a good idea to publish a paper there. You should also look at the names of editors, names of the editorial board members, to see if you know them as authors. Are they authors in your field? Were they publishing papers in your field? Also check this because some predatory journals, they simply invent their editorial boards. They use invented names, or they just pick names from anywhere, from some web pages, and they put names together. Those people are real, they are professors, but they do not know anything about that they are members of some editorial boards. The next important question is peer review. What kind of peer review is done by a particular journal? The most important is that the peer review is double-blind peer review. This means that the author will not know who the reviewer is and vice versa, because this offer more quality. If the review is done simply by the editor, that's not is not very good. Valery and Zbigniew mentioned also open access. Open access journals can be very good and they can be very bad. There are many types of open access journals. If your research is funded by European Union, you're required to publish your paper in an open access journal or with an open access option. You can, for example, publish your paper in a high-ranking journal, which is not normally open access, and then you can pay a fee for open access, that your particular paper is open. Predatory publishers, they normally ask you to pay for publication. Good publishers, they either have very high fees. For example, you have to pay 1,000, 2,000 euros for publication, or they have no fees simply. Even a very good open access journal, which can be indexed in Scopus or in Web of Science, can be free. You can simply publish there for free because they receive funds from some other sources. They're not dependent on publication fees. Journals published by publishing houses like Wiley or, for example, Springer and so on, they will require you to pay for publication because they are businesses. They have to make profit. They will not pay the editors, they will not pay the reviewers, but they will ask the authors to pay for publication because they have to cover their costs and they have to make the profit for their shareholders. When you choose the journal for your paper, the next important thing is to look for instructions for authors. Because the second main reason for rejection is the problem with paper formatting, structure, language, and so on. Because when a publisher receives a paper, the first thing what we look for is if this paper is properly formatted, if the font is right, if the titles are correctly formatted, is the abstract formatted correctly, what is the length of the paper, if the length of the paper should be between, say, 5,000 and 6,000 words.
Da. Nu i-am zis să am un răspuns, că nu aveam niciun răspuns, nici că da, nici că ba.
It should be that. You should not send a paper with 3,000 words or a paper with 10,000 words, because it will be simply rejected immediately. because we cannot publish it. If we have a journal with papers with about 5,000 words, we cannot include a paper with double the number. Also, very important thing is the language. Most journals publish papers in English, and you should prepare the paper in English. The authors are not generally native speakers of English, so they have to be careful about that. We'll speak later a little more about this. Also very important is the reference style, which is required by the publisher. I will return also on this. Think also about tables and figures. Do not put too many tables in your paper. You should limit to tables which are important for the paper. Not put, let's say, 20 tables with some data which are not very important for the paper. You should limit to important things, and tables should not be too big. They should be clearly formatted. Do not use colors, shades, fancy titles, or things like that. You should concentrate on the content of tables. And the same applies to figures. Usually, journals are published in black and white. You should not include color figures. You should not refer in your text, for example, see the red line in figure 2, because if the journal is published in black and white, that makes no sense. Also, if you include photographs, they should be high quality photographs, good contrast, and other figures like graphs or some drawings. They should be in vector format, like SVG or similar. That's the preferable format for figures, because they're easier to work with them in production of a journal. Copy editing. As I said, journals nowadays are mostly published in English, because English is the language of science. 300 years ago, that was Latin, now it's English. And you should always ask someone to read your paper. Even if you are a native speaker, your paper should be read by someone else before you send it to a journal. Because we tend to overlook our own mistakes. We know what we intended to write, but sometimes we write something else. And if you're not a native speaker, it's always a good idea to hire a professional copy editor, preferably a native speaker. This can be costly, but it's usually a good investment, because many times papers are rejected because of poor language. They can be very good, but they are written in such a poor language that no one can understand what was intended. There are many also internet copy editing services which can be used, but usually they are not very good. And it's generally a better idea to hire someone near you, someone you can talk to, someone which you can discuss some problems with language, who can advise you how to write better, and so on. So copy editing is usually a good investment before you submit a paper to a journal. Sometimes publisher will ask you to do this. When you submit a paper, they will said, okay, this paper can be published, but please first send it to a copy editor and check the language. And I mentioned also a reference style. There are many different reference styles out there. Some fields, like for example mathematics or medicine, they have their own particular styles for reference. In social sciences, economics, usually we use the Chicago Manual of Style or the APA style. These are two big styles which are generally used by the journals in social sciences. Both manuals are published in printed versions, and you can check also the websites with some basic instructions. The American Psychological Associations, they have a very good website with a lot of information, and you practically don't need published version. You can rely on their website. It's a good idea to use reference management tools like Zotero, because different journals use different reference styles. And when you prepare a paper for one journal and the paper is rejected, and then you want to submit this paper to another journal, the other journal will require a different reference style. And it's very time consuming and very difficult to change all the references by hand and change the reference list by hand. If you use reference management tools, it's very straightforward to change the style. Just click and select the other style, and your paper is prepared to be sent to another journal. When saying this, I must also say that you should never send paper to 2 or more journals at the same time, because they will find out and they will put you on blacklist. So this is a very bad idea to send papers to different journals at the same time. Send it to one journal and then wait for answer. It can take months. And if the paper is rejected, send it to another journal, but not before. From my point, my side, if you have any questions, I can answer that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, dear Alan. Thank you very much, Zbigniew. Thank you very much, Valery. So I think that the time for questions and for discussion, it will be in editor panel. Okay, we will continue with publishing, with writing just in 1 hour.